Well, the NATO military alliance oversaw the 20-year intervention in Afghanistan involving more than 30 countries, but it was forced to end the mission when the US announced unilaterally that it was withdrawing its troops. Many are now wondering how the chaotic withdrawal will affect the future of the alliance.
Former NATO Secretary General Lord Robertson says he was proud to invoke Article 5, mutual defense, to support Washington after 9/11, the only time it's been used. But now Robertson blasts NATO's full withdrawal, also compelled by the US.
I don't feel proud, I feel ashamed, because that solidarity seems to have gone. The principle of we all go in together and we all come out together seems to have been completely lost.
Foreign ministers meeting in emergency session last week focused first on the evacuation crisis, but also tasked Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg with launching a review into what happened in Afghanistan and what consequences it might have for NATO.
The main problem is the suffering of the Afghan people. Then this is also difficult for NATO, there is no doubt about that, and that's the reason why we need to be honest and be clear-eyed and ask those hard questions about what are the lessons learned.
Stoltenberg primarily blames the Afghan government and armed forces for failing to repel the Taliban advance. But others say there's plenty of responsibility to go around, starting with the West's overly ambitious intentions to fundamentally change Afghanistan. Doug Lute is a retired U.S. general who served in Afghanistan, as well as an ambassador to NATO and a White House advisor on Afghan policy. He says one big mistake the military alliance made, ironically, was its focus on the military fight.
Afghanistan collapsed. Our government in Afghanistan collapsed, not because of military failure, where we had put all this focus, but because of the politics.
But others will be drawing conclusions from NATO's actions as well. Afghan women who made massive gains in equality with the support of the international community. And the Taliban, which appears to feel entitled to bully half the population back into burqas and constant fear, despite pledges not to do so. Women's rights activists wonder how NATO will assess this part of its record in Afghanistan.
I do not know how I would look these women and girls in the eye and say, we made a promise, we came here, we said we will protect you. We will be here for you. Be brave, be bold, be courageous. And now that you became that, we just left you in the mouth of the Taliban, in the hands of the Taliban. Now they will treat you as they like, and we don't care about that anymore.
Hassan now no longer spends her days helping Afghan women get jobs, but pleading with NATO governments to help them escape.
We can take a closer look at this with Lakhdar Brahimi, who was a UN special representative to Afghanistan and played a key role in setting up the interim government that followed the toppling of the Taliban in 2001. He's also a member of the Elders, a group of world leaders helping to secure a peace. Welcome to DW. As someone who has invested so much time in trying to bring peace to Afghanistan, I wonder, can you understand Joe Biden's position that in giving a hard deadline to withdraw his troops from Afghanistan?
I don't think it is right. It would be right for me to judge what people are doing now because I'm not involved anymore. I'm very far. I try to follow what is happening. And I would like to talk about Afghanistan and the people of Afghanistan rather than, I'm sure you will have ample time to do your post-mortem about what the West has done there. But let's talk about the people of Afghanistan.
Well, let's do that then, and let's talk first of all, though, about you, someone who has invested so much time in trying to bring peace. When you heard that the Taliban was back, what went through your mind?
Well, what has been through my mind is that this was predictable, and everyone made lots of mistakes right from the beginning, and we never really stopped to look back and criticize ourselves. I think two important documents date back to my time at the very beginning. The Pittsburgh, and by the way, we are extremely grateful to Germany for their hospitality, their interest, their support at that time. So the document that allowed us to start, the implementation of the Pittsburgh document. And the other thing is something I have distributed in the middle of 2003, inviting everybody to sit down. I called it the Bonn 2 non-paper, Bonn 2. Let's go back to a new conference of Bonn and look at what we have done. We've done a lot of very good things, but we made mistakes, and it is time to review where we are going.
Right. And what do you think the biggest mistakes were?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is that when we went back to Kabul, people now talk about the fact that we didn't invite the Taliban to Bonn. It was impossible to invite the Taliban to Bonn, and they wouldn't have come. They had just been beaten, routed, sent to out of all the cities that they were controlling. Coming to Bonn was not an option. But when we came back, we didn't ask ourselves a very simple question. The Taliban have been routed. They have been out of the cities. Where have they gone? What are they thinking? Isn't it time that we send feelers out to see and see, perhaps we can talk to them, to some of them at least? We didn't do that.
Okay.
And you see, they represented something in Afghanistan in those days. And, like what Afghans are, they don't give up. They suffered the defeat, but they didn't think they lost the war.
Okay, so looking ahead then, the UN's humanitarian mandate in Afghanistan expires in September. What do you think the UN should do? Should it seek to renew it with a Taliban-run government?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The UN cannot leave a place like Afghanistan. And the UN should be in the business of talking to everybody, not only to the good guys. The good guys don't need the UN. They can solve their problems alone. We should be in the business of talking to everybody. And now the Taliban is a very important player, not only in Afghanistan, but in the entire region. The Iranians are talking to them. The Chinese are talking to them. The Russians are talking to them, in addition to Pakistan, of course, who are their allies. So that's a very important player in the region. You don't like them or you don't, you have got to talk to them.
Thank you so much for joining us and outlining that so clearly. Lakhdar Brahimi, thank you.
Thank you very much.